Hello and welcome. My name is Natty Cash, and we are back with more Premier League predictions. We're at Matchday 11 so far. As we look up above, last week was okay. I'm getting about half of them right. I'm still want to get above that 500 mark overall for the season, so we'll see if I can do better this week. I did get the United Chelsea game spot on with the exact score there, but let's see what we can do with match day 11. First off, we have Brentford versus Bournemouth. Again, both teams that are sitting in that kind of mid-table spots. Bournemouth at 10, Brentford at 12th. Both have a couple wins over the last five, but Bournemouth's wins and their performance over the last 3 weeks has been pretty good. Right, a win against Arsenal, drawing against Aston Villa, and then a win against Manchester City last week. Bournemouth seem to be the team that's on form. Now, Brentford is getting wins, although when you look at their wins, it's a win against Ipswich with a red card, a loss to Manchester United, and then a win against Wolves. So it's not as impressive. So if you're thinking about the quality of these teams, Bournemouth certainly is a little bit better for that. So I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt. It could still be close. I'm going to give maybe a 2... actually, you know what? I'm going to go maybe a 3-1 victory for Bournemouth in this one. Next, we have Crystal Palace hosting Fulham in a bit of a London derby. Crystal Palace has been struggling, but their last 2 weeks, they got their first win on the board against Tottenham at home, and then went on the road to Wolves and got a draw out of that matchup. So maybe they're starting to turn things around. Fulham have had a decent year so far, recently beating Brentford. Although they've had their own slip-ups, they have 2 wins, a draw, and 2 losses in their last 5 games, sitting in 9th in the Premier League table. When I look at these two, I do see Fulham as the better team. It just depends on if Crystal Palace has started to figure things out. If they have, this could be a little bit closer of a game. But I think I'm still going to give the edge to Fulham here, and maybe it's going to be then a close game, so maybe about a 2-1 victory for Crystal Palace. I do expect them to play defensively, but I think Fulham have enough to then go away and get the win. Next, we have West Ham hosting Everton. And both teams are sitting towards the bottom of the table, 14th and 16th. Both of them do have a couple wins and some draws in their recent schedule, so both of them seem like they're able to get points. My concern is that I don't think Everton is getting many points away from home, especially seeing their loss against Southampton is not a good sign, and they're going away again to West Ham. Where then West Ham recently got a solid win. It wasn't last week, but 2 weeks ago, getting a win against Manchester United. And so I think with them at home, I give them the edge here. I think it's going to be probably a close one, maybe just like 1-0. Not a whole lot of offense in it. Unfortunately, that'll be 2 1-0 losses to Everton in a row, but I think West Ham will just have them beat this time. Next, we have Wolves against Southampton. 2 teams sitting in the relegation spot where both of them are looking to get 3 points from this and start pushing their way out of relegation. This one will be interesting. Wolves have had 2 draws in a row against Brighton and Crystal Palace. Southampton got their first win on the board, where was their last game here? They had a close game but lost to Manchester City, so it's possible that they're starting to figure some things out, and maybe they can build on that. Wolves still don't have a win yet, this would be the opportunity for them to get a win at home against Southampton. And you know what? I think I'm going to give that to them. I do think there's going to be a lot of goals in this. It's going to be very back and forth. So I'm going to give them maybe like a 3-2 victory over Southampton. They get their first win on the board, and they then are able to start building towards pushing for that safety out of the relegation zone. Next, we have Brighton and Hove Albion hosting Manchester City. Brighton and Hove have had a good start to their year. They have had a couple slip-ups recently, a draw against Wolves, and then their loss against who was it now? Liverpool away from home. But again, they're a solid team, and I think will give some trouble to Man City. Man City, on the other hand, they've had some struggles recently, at least what we would say compared to what we're used to from them. Losing to Bournemouth, and then even in Champions League, losing out to Sporting away from home as well. So there's going to be something here where they bounce back and find a way to be successful here. But Brighton's certainly a tough matchup. And so I'm actually maybe going to give this a scenario where then Man City could drop some more points. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw is going to happen here. That's maybe a little unfair to Man City despite their recent form, but I think this could be a tight one regardless. So I'm going to give Brighton Hove Albion the slight edge here. Next, we have Liverpool facing Aston Villa. Both teams that are in the Champions League fighting their way through there. In the Premier League, though, Aston Villa has had kind of a little bit of a bumpy road. They only have one win in their last 5. And then losing last week. Who did they play last week? They had lost to Tottenham away from home. And so they're going away now to Liverpool, and I'm not sure if they're going to be as successful. Liverpool in the league has done fairly well, and in the Champions League, and so I do lean towards Liverpool here, although Aston Villa are a very good team. I think it's going to be a close one, and I think back and forth. I am going to give Liverpool just a 1-0 victory, a narrow victory, but they'll be fine with that. 3 points on the board is what you need. So Liverpool winning 1-0. Next, we have have Manchester United hosting Leicester. Ruben Amorim, I don't think is kind of fully announced. Well, maybe announced, but they're not necessarily taking over the team yet. I think it's still Ruud van Nistelrooy, but it'll be interesting to see what Manchester United can do now that that transition is going to happen. I do give Man United the edge here. Just looking at recent form, I know that there's been some tough results there, and then last week they had a draw against Chelsea, which I think is respectful. I think Chelsea have been good this year. Leicester have had a couple wins recently. That was wins over Bournemouth and Southampton, however, right? Still losing to Forest, drawing to Ipswich. So I do see Man United as the favorite, but they have had their struggles as well. So I think it's going to be another close one here. I feel like I've given this a few times, but I'm going to say a 2-1 victory for Manchester United. They'll start moving their way up the table a little bit, and maybe they can salvage some of their season. Now we have a Nottingham Forest team that is sitting in 3rd place in the table up against Newcastle. Forest is playing incredibly well. Even in the games where they're losing, they're pretty darn close, especially against some of the top teams. And they're currently on a 3-game winning streak, hosting Newcastle. Now, Newcastle has had some struggles, but they had then a nice result against Arsenal in their last matchup, a 1-0 victory at home. But I think that's where then we have to note that Newcastle's ability to play at home is maybe a little bit stronger than their away form. I do see Newcastle being very defensive, not allowing a whole lot of goals, and so I do call this one as a close one, but I think Forest actually will be able to come in here, get their 4th win in a row, continue to stay at the top of the Premier League for now. We'll see if that form dips or if teams are able to kind of figure out their style of play and maybe ways to stop Chris Wood up front or anything like that. But we'll see. I am going to give Forest the slight edge here, 1-0 victory. Next, we have Tottenham hosting Ipswich. Tottenham, 3 wins out of 5. They're sitting in that 7th spot, trying to push their way up into the European conversation, maybe the battle for the best of the rest, that kind of scenario. Ipswich, you've yet to win a game. They've drawn a couple recently, and but they've yet to win, and so we're waiting to see at what point that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen here. I do see an opportunity where Tottenham may let in some goals, and it might be a high-scoring game. So I'm going to give, and I know I gave this score once already, but I'm going to give it like a 3-2 victory for Tottenham. I think could be some surprises in here, but I think Tottenham have enough to get the victory. And finally, we have a London derby of Chelsea and Arsenal. Chelsea recently have looked solid and have had a reasonable campaign. They won to Newcastle a couple weeks back and recently had a draw at Manchester United. They're going to be looking at this as an opportunity because Arsenal have dropped points in their last 3 matchups. Their loss against Arsenal, their draw at home against Liverpool, and then that loss away to Bournemouth as well. And so, maybe it's just kind of a lull in their schedule right now where there's busy fixtures from Champions League and so on that they're maybe not able to recover. They're a little bit more tired. And Chelsea doesn't have that problem at the moment. So they're looking at this as a great opportunity to get 3 points. And you know what? Based on Arsenal's form, I think that could happen. I think it could be close. And so I'm going to give just a 1-0 victory here. A lot of Arsenal's games have been just generally close, both in the Champions League and Premier League. And so I think Chelsea can go and get the win here, just a 1-0 victory. And that is it. If you want to put your own predictions down in the comments, please do so. A like and subscribe as that helps me grow the channel. And have a great time watching the games this weekend. Bye for now.